Okay. So let's look at the case on your slide, page 12. Slide page 12. So here is how we determine NRV, net reliable value, 经变现价值, how much we expect to get from customers. Remember, what's that? You're estimating selling price, the sales revenue we expect to get from customers is $1,000. Okay, so this is your $1,000 revenue. But nothing for free. You have to consider, in order to earn the revenue, what kind of expenses incur, right? So estimated cost of completion when we talk about work in process. So if your company is manufacturing company, we talk about work in process. Also, we have estimated cost to sell, like what? Nothing for free. In order to sell the products, maybe you had to pay commission. Okay, so this is the expenses we expect we have. So in the end, how much money you expect you will get from customers in the future? $750 net reliable value. So what does it mean? This is the amount, net amount. So this is net amount you expect to receive from customers in the future. Okay, so I expect to get from customers. So means what? Your future economic benefit. Then we have to compare this number with the cost. After we find out this number is lower, we will report this number on your balance sheet. So $750 is what? My LCNRV. So this is your LCNRV. Based on the cost and NRV, we choose the lower one, right? Okay. So you should understand, for your inventory, what's the number we report on balance sheet, LCNRV. Any questions? So how to get LCNRV? Look at slide 13. For example, remember chapter 9, we focus on ending inventory. So when we talk about any numbers in chapter 9 is ending inventory. So for ending inventory, what should we do? Based on the cost, how to get the cost? Chapter 8, using FIFO average, we find out the cost of ending inventory. But before you prepare financial statement, don't forget, you have to compare the number with your NRV, then choose the lower one, right? So first item, the lower one, how much? $80,000. Second item, the lower one is $100,000. Third item, the lower one is $40,000. So on. Then you will find out LCNRV, the lower one. Okay? Then add up together. So add up together, we will get the numbers $384,000 and report it on your balance sheet. Okay? Any questions? No problem? Then you should understand why we do that. What's the reason we do that? Because we want to make sure the number represent our future economic benefit, meet the definition of assets. Okay? So that's the reason we use the number, because this is our future economic benefit. Okay, and meet the definition. Of assets. Okay, so that's the reason we use LCM RV. Any questions? Okay. And for this method, did you find out we compare each item, right? So for first one, we compare cost in NRV. For second one, we compare cost in NRV. For third one, we compare cost in NRV, so on, so on. So we compare each items. For this, we call it individual item approach. Individual item approach means based on each item, we look at their cost in NRV and choosing the low one. So this is individual item approach, 逐项比较法. Okay? We also have the second way to find out our LCNRV based on what? Similar or related item approach means what? Based on each group. So not each item, based on each group. Okay? The group could be similar products. So like there are similar products, like a chair, desk, they are similar products. So based on similar products, we classify them as a group. Okay? Or you can use the same area because they are in the same country like a Taiwan, or they are in the same city like a Taipei. So based on the same area, also you can classify them as a group. Okay, so either way, similar products or the same area. Then why we have the second way, similar products or same area, classify them as a group? What's that? Because it's quite hard to find out NRV. So what does that mean, NRV? Do you know what does that mean, NRV? NRV is my estimated selling price, right? If you forgot, NRV is your estimated selling price minus the related expenses you got in NRV, right? So what's the problem? Estimated selling price is my market value. So you have to find out your estimated selling price, means your estimated market value, right? Selling price is your market value. How much money you sold to customers. If you still remember, why accounting we use cost principle 成本原则 for most of cases? Because we don't trust market value, because it's quite hard to get market value. Only chapter 14 bonds and shares, we allow you to choose fair value principle. If you forgot. 14. On your chapter 14, if you still remember, we allow you to choose fair value principle only for financial assets and liabilities, only for your bonds and shares. Why is that? Because for bonds and shares, when you have the market value, then we trust the numbers. So usually for bonds and shares, they have the market value. So for bonds and shares, they are easier to get market value. Why? Apple, could you tell me the share price today? Yeah, you just Google it, you can get it. For bonds, still they are traded in the market. So for them, it's easier to get market value. So okay, we allow you to use it. Okay? Otherwise, no, you cannot use fair value principle because we don't trust fair value. Okay? So on your slide, chapter 14, 111. If you remember, market value, yeah, of course, is relevant because it's today's value price in the market. But the problem is we don't trust the numbers except bonds, shares, because they are traded in the market. So okay. But for cost, we trust it because cost based on the amount, true amount to do any accounting methods, right? So that's why cost is reliable. Okay? So what's the problem? The problem is when I try to get the market value, it's subjective. It's not easier to get it. Okay? So let's go back to our chapter 9. So why? We have the second way, similar or related item approach, because you want to get each item's market value. Sometimes it's quite hard to get the market value for each item. Since it's quite hard to get market value for each item, then we accept the second way, put them into the group. Okay? So that's a reason we have the second one, because it's quite hard to get your NRV, means your market value, for each item. So it's quite hard to get NRV for each item. NRV is quite similar to your market value. Okay? This is a reason. So based on this, how to get LCNRV for each one? On your slide 15. So we have frozen food 冷冻食品. We have the canned food 罐装食品. So based on different products 冷冻食品, canned 罐装食品, okay? And if you use the textbook, please change to NRV, so it's not LCNRV. So right now, what we are going to do, if you use individual item means we compare each item. So based on first item, we find out cost $80,000 comparing to NRV 120. We choose the lower one, okay, and so on. So you compare each items, you find out the total numbers for your LCM RV. Second way is what? Based on the group. So right now the group, we based on the same products, similar products. So frozen food, we look at the total amount. So when you look at the total amount, skip each item, just only look at the total amount and compare the cost for these two. Choose the low one. So low one is $230,000, okay? And the second group, based on the total amount for your second group, we choose the low one, okay? Then this is how we find out our LCM RV. Let you guess these two methods, which one always you will get the lowest amount? Individual or second one? You will get the lowest number. First or second one? Always should be first. Why is first? First method, always you will find out the lowest amount. Why is that? We look at each item. For each item, we look at the lowest one. So of course, each item is the lowest. You got a total amount should be the lowest. For the second one, what's the problem? Did you find out? If you look at the frozen, you got $230,000. So $230,000 is right here, right? So could you tell me $2,000 and $40,000, $2,030,000 for this group, right? Each item always is the low one? No, it's not. Which one is the higher? The third one, right? So did you find out the third one? This one is higher. Okay? Because when you base on the total amount, you cannot make sure each item you choose the low one. So that's why second method you will get a higher number because it include the lower because it include the higher amount. Okay? So did you find out what's the problem? Use the first method. Always you choose the low one. Use the second method. You will include the higher amount. So you will include the higher amount. This one is higher. When you include the higher one, means what? Means your amount includes some amount they don't have future economic benefit, okay? Because this is the higher one. So means what? Means the cost is $50,000 and NRV is $40,000. So what's the problem? The problem is for second method, you include $10,000 more, right? But that $10,000 more have a future economic benefit? No. Why? Because future economic benefit is your NRV. You expect to get the money, $40,000 from customers. But the problem is you report $50,000 for your second method. So it means the number include $10,000. This $10,000 no future economic benefit. Okay, so what's the problem? You include the $10,000 without future economic benefit, which made you overstate your ending inventory, which made you overstate your assets. Okay, so that's why this number overstated. Okay, this number overstated because they made you include $10,000 no future economic benefit. You overstated assets and the inventory because you include $10,000 no future economic benefit. Okay, so here just show you, of course first method is better, but when you cannot find out NRV, when you cannot find out market value, then second method still okay. But just you have to understand what's the problem for second method. Because the second method still you include some numbers, they don't have future economic benefits. Okay, any questions? Okay. So either way depends on your company situation. You can use either one, is okay. But only one requirement in accounting. What's that? Consistency. You choose which method, then you have to use that method for years. Why? Because we are afraid you manipulate financial statements. Okay? So the only requirement is what? Consistency. Any questions? No problem. Then let's look at the case on your slide 19. If you understand the concept, let's see how to get the numbers. So here told you your cost of goods sold is how much? $108,000. And you have an ending inventory cost. So be careful. You got ending inventory. You should find out the ending inventory is your cost or your NRV. So here told you your first number, second number, they are your cost. So from which chapter? From your chapter 8. Chapter 8. So you got a number from your chapter 8 because it is the cost. So you got a number from chapter 8. Also your first one before you do anything. So it's from your chapter 8. Okay? And right now told you because of some bad news, you have ending inventory at NRV. Okay? So how much? $70,000. So this is your chapter 9 told you. And compare these two numbers. Could you tell me you have a bad news or good news? Bad news, right? May your value decrease. So your value decrease because of bad news. Okay? So what should we do? Before we prepare financial statements, you should compare these two numbers, $82,000 and $70,000. So when we compare these two numbers, which number we should report on balance sheet? LCNRV. So based on LCNRV, we choose the lower one. So $70,000 is the amount we are going to report on our balance sheet, right? So we are going to report this number on our balance sheet. Okay? So but before you do anything, you look at accounting books. What's the number on accounting books right now? Before you do anything, what's the number on accounting books right now? 28. Not 28, sorry. 82. $82,000. Because after chapter 8, we have the number 82 on your accounting books right now. So this is the number we have right now. Okay, so what should we do? We should tell them, because of bad news, right now, my ending inventory's value decreased from what? From $82,000 to $70,000. Okay, so what are these two effects you have? You have to tell them, our inventory's value decreased $12,000. Also, the decrease is my loss. Okay, so you should tell them two effects. First is my inventory's value decrease. And the decreased part is my loss. Because of bad news. Okay, so I have a loss. Also, my value decrease. Okay, any questions? Then how to record these two effects? We have two methods, but we don't have a time today. So I won't test you the journal entry. It's okay. So for the journal entry, we skipped. After meantime, I'll show you. So we have two methods to record these two effects, but so far it's okay. We don't have a time. So you just understand the concept. So your value decreased $12,000. Okay? Then, what if after today, you heard the bad news, right? But after today, you heard the good news. Then what should we do? So we want to tell you, after today, if you heard some good news, then what should we do? So stop here and go to your slides on page 30. Page 30. In periods following the write-off, so after today, okay, so after you told them inventory decreased $12,000. 12. and you have a loss $12,000. Okay, after that you heard some good news. Okay, some good news happened, which made your value increase again. What kind of good news? Maybe before bad news is you heard iPhone 15 is coming out, right? So iPhone 15 is coming out, made your value decrease. So maybe the bad news is iPhone 15 is coming out. Coming soon. iPhone 15 is coming soon, which made your iPhone 14's value decrease. But few months later, like after 1 month, good news. What's the good news? Apple company told you because of some problems, their iPhone 15 cannot sell in the market next month. Okay, so the good news told you because of some problems, iPhone 15 they have to dispose, they have to delay. Apple have to postpone the plan for iPhone 15. Okay, so because the market will not sell iPhone 15 soon, so it's good news for your iPhone 14, right? Because since a customer won't have an iPhone 15, then still they have to buy iPhone 14, right? So that's why their value increased. Okay, so we talk about that. Before bad news, may you admit you have a loss, but later on, since I got good news, of course I have to describe my value increase again. So we talk about that value increase. So since your value increase, could we recognize the situation? Of course, yes, right? So we want to tell them, okay, because of good news, my iPhone 14's value increased again. So you could do that. So here told you, later on when you heard the good news, you could reverse the write down. Before write down, right now you could recognize your value increase, okay? So you could do that. Reverse your write-off. Means you could recognize, record your value increase. You could do that. But we have the upper limit. What is the upper limit? Cost. What does it mean? Don't forget which accounting principle we use. Cost principle. So we base on the cost principle to recognize the situation. So since we base on the cost principle, 成本原则, everything you have to base on the cost. So that's why reverse limit, upper limit is the cost. Okay? For example, If we assume your value increased to $74,000, if your value increased to $74,000, okay? So remember before, what's the loss we recognize? Before we compare cost $82,000 to NRV $70,000, we choose the lower one, right? So we have LCNRV $70,000. We report the number for our ending inventory. At the same time, we told them our value decrease. Our value decrease. We have a loss, $12,000. Okay? And later on, because of good news, your value increased to $74,000. Your value increased to $74,000 because of the good news. May your value increase to $74,000. Okay? So before we recognize a loss, right? $12,000 from where? Our cost, $82,000 to my NRV, $70,000. So before we recognize the cost to my NRV, due to bad news, that's why we recognize we have the loss, $12,000. Right now, later on, because of good news, may my NRV increase to $74,000. Okay? So your market value, how much money customer is willing to pay, increased to $74,000. So this is your new NRV because of good news. So could you recognize you have a value increase? Yes, you could recognize you have a value increase from $70,000 to $74,000, right? So you could tell them, okay, my value increase $4,000. Okay? Before value decrease, later on value increase. Any questions? But what is our upper limit 上限? Upper limit 上限 is my cost. Okay, upper limit 上限 is my cost. So you should understand the cost this is your upper limit 上限. Okay, why cost is your upper limit 上限? So what does it mean? It means after we finish the case, then you can go home. So just give me 1 minute more. If case 1, case 2, Fiona, you want to go to a bathroom again? Again? So maybe it's December 31st. December 31st. December 31st, because of bad news. Okay, so because of bad news, make your value from 100 to 80. Okay, then the same bad news for your value from 100 to 80. But later on, not later on, based on this, could you tell me your value? What's your cost? Cost is $100. And right now, your NRV on December 31st is 80. Okay, so what should we do? We have to recognize we have the value decrease, right? So we have value decrease 20. So this is my loss, 20. So case 1, case 2 the same. Cost 100. NRV 80 for December 31st. So we have a loss 20. Okay, but what if later on, like January 2nd, because of good news, your value increase. Okay, so January 2nd, because of good news, your value increase to 85. Okay, sorry, not 85. Value increase to 110 because it's good news. 110. Actually, they are the same case. So January 2nd, good news. May your value increase to 110. Okay? So based on case 1, case 2, if I told you case 1, you could only recognize the value, how much? Upper limit, the cost. So you could only recognize you have the value increase, but to the cost. So what does it mean? You can only recognize you have a gain is 20. So that's case 1. Case 2, you recognize to what you have. What you have is NRV 110 on your January 2nd. So what's the value, the gain you recognize? The gain is $30. Which one we accept that? First one. Why is that? Remember which method we use? Cost principle. So based on the cost, we have additional condition. We have additional consideration whether you provide future economic benefit. So did you find out? We only accept you use case 1 because based on the cost, this is our key point. Based on the cost, we do everything. So we have to base on the cost principle, and plus additional consideration. What is my additional consideration? Essay's definition. The additional consideration is the definition of essays. Case 2 is not cost principle. Case 2 is which principle? Fair value principle. Why is that? The value we base on the fair value. The value we base on the fair value. So we report the number on balance sheet based on NRV, based on NRV. So did you find out? Case 2 actually is about fair value, fair value. So it is fair value principle. Fair value, right? NRV is my market value. NRV is my market value. So you report the number following NRV, following your market value. So what does that? Is your fair value principle. So based on the NRV market value, based on the NRV market value, we use that to determine what's the amount we report on balance sheet, right? So actually case 2 is your fair value principle. 公允价值原则。Okay, so that's why we have the upper limit for the cost. Why we have the upper limit for the cost? Because inventory, we adopt cost principle. So could you recognize any part above your cost? You cannot. When you recognize any part above the cost, then you adopt fair value principle. But too bad, so far, assets, assets, inventory, we don't accept you use fair value principle. Okay, so that's a reason you cannot use case 1. You cannot use case 2. You can use only case 1 because we use cost principles. So don't forget, we have the upper limit. 上限 is your cost. Okay, any questions? So let's say for your midterm exam. So chapter 9, you just understand the concepts. And the detailed content, I will send you the message, email you to tell you chapter 9, okay? No general entries, just the concepts we covered today. So don't worry about that. I'll give you the pages, which slide, which note is for your midterm exam. Any questions, you can come.